I'm Dusty and welcome back to my lab. Today I want to share with you a little contraption that I've constructed here. So I had a little bit of an accident at the end of September of last year. It's been probably 4 or 5 months, I'm not sure, I haven't really been counting. Have another appointment in a little bit, but anyway, so what wound up happening was I was on my e-bike, one thing led to another. I was slid maybe 10 or 15 feet, was going only maybe 20 or 25 miles per hour. I wasn't paying that much attention. I was trying to get out of the way, let a car get past me. Not getting into too many details, I slid under a car, and it was basically a direct hit right here. And right here is where happens to be the muscle that controls this movement of your leg, right? Of your foot, really, right? So like this muscle contracts and it pulls your foot up. And it's kind of like a thing we don't think a lot about. I never really thought about it. It's such a natural fluidity in your walk and in your gait and like just in how you do athletic things that like you never really think about just being able to pick your foot up. So like people have different like ranges of motion and like there's actually like a lot of complexity that comes into it that I never really thought about. But if you wear a high top boot, like that will restrict your motion a little bit. I've learned a lot, but anyway, so what this thing is it basically compensates for that muscle not working anymore. Right now at this point it's unclear like how much nerve damage, how much permanent drop foot I'm going to have. I do have a little bit of a toe movement, which is interesting. I can like, you can see my toes moving in there, but I can't like lift my foot by myself. So like that'll be pretty apparent here in a second. So if I disengage that, I'm like that's it. Like I can't lift it up. Like there's just nothing. And like it's unclear like how long it's gonna be like this or how much I'm gonna regain. The realistic aspect of it is that there's so much of this muscle gone. I think that unless there's some kind of new medical procedure, I'm gonna be lucky if I get 10% back. But here's the thing about it. What's interesting about this injury is that 10% is actually like gives you 80 to 90% of your functionality in a lot of ways. Like I'll never be able to like aggressively kick something ever again. Like I'll never probably be able to like, I used to do karate. I'll never be able to like kick a board like that. I'll never be able to, like have a lot of force in that. I can't. It's hard for me to stomp my foot, without this thing. But you can see like this actually, it's kind of counterintuitive, and like that was kind of like the key to figuring this out. I think is that like originally I was trying to pull my foot to my leg, use the leg as the reference point, but then like this kind of actually like brings the leg to the foot, because the reference point is the boot, which is where it's stationed, and actually, fixed to it. But anyway, I wanted to do a little bit of a mod. This one I have to work a little bit on, and like I've specifically chosen, these shoes for a reason, in that they have such a thick sole, and like this one specifically has these very opportunistic spots in it. Okay, that I figured out I could put some bolts in. And this is my hot glue thread lock. But in this one, you can see this bolt is not quite true. It's not straight, and it starts to work its way out of this sole rubber, because it's a lot of force. It's a lot, as I'm walking. And I've been testing it out. This is like kind of like a boot shoe. They're like a hiking boot shoe and waterproof, and they're really nice. And the thing is like. That's another thing. I'm just going to start modifying this, and as I modify it, I'll kind of explain, the ins and outs of how it works a little bit better. So these are the tools that I'm going to need here. That's not very fun. Okay. So we want to get a close-up of this. So this is kind of like I'm thinking of as my running shoe. So like this is what I'm trying to fix with this. This part here, my foot is very wide, and it squishes out here and rubs up against this part. And just as a little history, this took me a number of iterations, because even once I got to this shape, it started breaking because I was trying to use PETG, which is very strong and a good functional plastic, but wasn't strong enough. So this was actually inspiration for me to start printing nylon. So this is nylon, and I mean it hasn't shown any sign that it's going to give. It's been pretty reliable. So What's probably the best way to pull this thing apart? Probably start here. So this is probably the jankiest part of this, and I'm still figuring out the best way to deal with this. But the kind of the innovation I think with this, and like what makes it good, is this, what I'm calling a spring socket. So like this is a little retainer disc, and here I'll twist it out, and like that's kind of that's the worry. Like it's not like it's only locked in there by the friction of me being able to tighten it up. But so this retainer disc is nylon, and it rides inside of this hole here, okay? And like, so this is kind of like the entire shaft or axle. It has play in it, right? So like it has this screw core which holds it rigid and strong, you know, and it connects it to this sprocket piece inside of here, which then connects to the arm. But it has like actually a range of mobility. So like you can see, and like, and that's kind of the best part about it, is that, you know, if I wanted to change the characteristics of this, like how much play it had, because like, you know, you can see here that this has play now. I could make it longer and like a different shape, and then it would have more give in this direction. But then you lose some of the strength of it because it's being lost in, you know, in torque in a different direction. And if you have it too big and too long, then it'll like twist itself out of proportions and like, you know, do stuff like that. So like you don't really want that, because then it starts toying with how it's on your leg. I've been just you know, playing around with it quite a bit. The big thing about this, and like what I think is really nice and like what could be helpful for people, is that like this really makes my running gait especially pretty much normal, like almost. I mean, the walk is not as good because it induces like a stomping, because like you don't realize it, but like when you put your foot down like this when you're walking, like you kind of, that's a fluid motion where it's a push and pull of like these muscles on either side of your leg. And like when you only have a spring load, you know, like you're kind of just like, it's just a, you know, a lever, just boop boop, like flat. So I was thinking maybe if I rounded out the bottom, you know, like then maybe that would eliminate some of the stomp. So I have some ideas, and I got lots of time, and the perfect the perfect subject, who basically had his muscle surgically removed by a muffler bracket. So you know, anyway, moving on. So the way that I figured out to just, you know, basically load this thing, because it's a preload brace, that's what it is. You know, you're effectively having to fight it all the time when it's loaded. But it allows you to actually have a little bit of lift in your foot, which is all that you really need. And that's kind of why I said, you know, even with only like 10% added for, you know, recovered functionality, you get 80 to 90% of your function. Because, you know, as a human, you do a lot of different stuff, like running and walking, and, you know, I don't know if I'll play basketball. I might, you know, this is going to have to be worked on a bit probably, but maybe eventually. But, you know, you can do 80 or 90% of what you do in a typical day just with 10% of this. You know, just being able to get it 90 degrees and then being able to move it, you know, is quite a bit. So in order to load this, you take this retaining disc off, okay, and then you just kind of use the flexibility of the spring to allow it to slip around the front of the shoe. Right, so, and that's how it hooks in. And what this is a drill press return spring. It's just I had to buy a couple of them. Eventually I figured out that like a bigger, thicker spring is kind of more ideal for what we need in this situation. Yeah, if you want to check that out. And I've had to cut it down to length, you know, somewhat arbitrarily. It's, you know, we're very much in the research and development phase of this. But then I heated up with a torch and bent this around like that, and I designed, you know, all this space and everything. So here's the thing, like, you know, depending on where you cut this, and like maybe even just the little eccentricities of the spring just in manufacturing, the starting point of this is significant, right? So like, but you can't adjust that just with you know, the spring, really, you know, because I mean, unless you had like a bunch of holes, that might have been one way I could have done it. The way I chose to do it was this. So pretty simply. Okay, so you can see the bolt passes through both of these, but you turn it like this and it unlocks it. You're gonna push it through. All right. So then, like, you know, what I basically do is, all right, so that when it was on here, it was basically straight up and down like this, and that was about actually where I wanted it. you know, that wasn't what I was trying to adjust, but that's how it's settable. So then, like, if I was to start it here and twist it more, then it's wound up a lot more, right? So it's pulling a lot more in that scenario. And I'm working on, you know, like figuring out a way to actively control it. And like I really like the spring socket idea because it's like it's a way of doing like a very low wear, you know, apparatus to get like a very desirable result, and that there's play in it, you know. And basically this just wraps around, and that was another breakthrough is that, you know, this saddle, I don't even know what you would call it. Like, you know, it's a saddle for my leg in some sense, and like the pulling effect. Like, the good thing about it is that, you know, it's doing what it needs to do, but there's a lot of mobility in it. So like I can, you know, kind of like move my leg in a lot of like the natural ways that you would try to. Okay, so what was I trying to do? So I was explaining that I was getting a lot of rub. I'm getting rub right here, right? Because my foot is fat, right? So like I was trying to kind of replicate the spring socket concept here, so that, you know, I could have some play here. Because really, it doesn't matter if it plays in this direction as long as it's actually pulling it and applying torque, right, like this. So I still wanted an elastic like this, but these springs aren't that strong. So what I want to do, and on this guy specifically, I'm just using some hot glue as thread lock. I don't really know how effective that is. It's probably not at all. But I'm just experimenting and playing around and seeing what I'm gonna, you know, I'm using what I've got. Let's put this off here. Okay. It's weird. It's like a purple blue in the light, like in the daylight. I don't know why. Okay, so I still want an elastic, but instead of using a spring, like a metal spring, I'm going to use a silicone plug, hopefully. I'm going to cut it down to size, you know, probably one is going to be a different size and length than the other one, just because of the way that the shoe is shaped. Never knew I was going to become a cobbler, a bionics cobbler, but, you know, I guess it is what it is, right? And I got these shoes on AliExpress, and I just kind of I've been shopping around. At first I was trying to do stuff that had like just a thick sole that I could, you know, somehow try to jerry rig in whatever way was possible to work. What I eventually realized, it's bordering on the threads. What I eventually realized is that I probably could just get away with bolting it directly into the actual cloth or canvas of the shoe, depending on what type it is, and not even go into the sole at all, if I just don't use bolts that go all the way through. And I'm still experimenting with that. I have a pair of Vans that I have. Clearly, this is not a perfect system, and I'm going to really struggle when I have to put this back on too, because this is not like, this is how I'm like basically grabbing this. Definitely not. If I just had a wrench, you know, one of the oldest tools, then I would have a much easier time, but we don't do that here. So, okay, there we go. Okay. So, this is the one I want to be shorter, because I'm thinking that, first of all, this is where it's rubbing. That's where my foot is really fat and squishing out. So I want this one to stand off more than this one in the back. So what I'm going to do, eyeball it. I'm going to use for the back one probably, let's see, this much. This was an Electro Boom-esque channel. This is when I would cut my finger off. Okay. I think I can just, maybe I can shove this through. I don't know. I might have to. I might not be strong enough. It's gone. It's gone. There it goes. Okay. And is that how I want it? Yeah. Okay. So slide it in there. Cool. Oh, but it's not how I want it. I want it in between. So this goes through here, first of all. Now that I got the hole, it should be easy. Okay, cool. but put it on the wrong side. Par for the course. All right. Let's see here. Now, how much do I want in the front? Honestly, I probably could use the other half of this one. Where is it? Do you see where I put it, Tim? Sick. A little weighty, but she'll still work. Get the schmutz off. Give you a haircut. Good enough. It's gonna squish. It's gonna squish anyway. Okay, so let's give it the treatment now. This one's gonna be a little harder, I think. It's like a little captive washer there too. Added functionality. Okay. And then we'll stand it off. This one's gonna go the other way. Wait, yeah. No, same way. Okay, good. So that's one idea. Let's see if this works the way I want it to. Be a little tricky. Get my head too. Not good. Alright. Now in a perfect world, this will be easy. Alright? Takes the finesse that I don't have. The finesse and less caffeine. Might have to, okay, really hold it. There we go. Nuts. Did you hear it? Did you hear it, Tim? Could have swore I heard it. Alright. Well, I found more nuts. And I came back, so hopefully we can crack it. I got a black one this time. This is not really going to be easy to see. All that really needs to happen so that you can understand what I'm fiddling with here between my legs is these two bolts, and this needs to be tight, and I'm going to squish this down basically to like a desired tightness, and then hopefully that's going to give me the standoff that I need while also giving me a little bit of play. So. So I got a slightly larger boot, and as you see, like in the original one, like these nuts would get stuck on the other side of this ridge really easily and nicely, whereas like this one now it wants to suck it through. So what can I do? What did I do? This is what I did. Which is not really the best. A washer is the best thing I could do, but I'm gonna need, I don't really have a lot of them right now. Might be a bit of a conundrum. What am I gonna do? Damn, everything was going so smoothly. Well, that was the problem, wasn't it? Everything was going too smoothly. I think I have an idea. It's going to be kind of janky. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to basically shim it. I'm going to shim the bolt up so that it actually makes the nut grab the ridge of the blade shoe. I have to cut it down more. Let's see what happens here. Oh, that looks pretty good. I think it actually does. Yeah, you can see that it's getting the desired effect, I think. I gotta hold this to actually tighten it. It still wants to suck it out. Once it gets enough tension on there, it's trying to suck it through. Getting hot. It's crazy. It's a tricky one. This part of it anyway. I need to just back this all the way out. So that the nut isn't like, it's basically like digging in as I'm trying to like leverage it over top of the shim. You know, doing this shit, when I got hurt, I started playing like Kingdom Come Deliverance a lot, just like trying to recover and like, I started thinking about how crazy it was, you know, we used to have people, like, you were just a cobbler, you know, like you just dedicated your life to making shoes, and I mean, it's not like that shit doesn't exist anymore, it's just like, I mean, it's really easy to forget like how much different life was, like not that long ago. I have a semi-solution, so I'm going to abandon the original idea of like crisscross applesauce. And I'm just going to go like that, and then I'm going to stick the nut actually inside of here. Like that. Maybe. See if that works. I'm forgetting something. I inadvertently might have fallen across a halfway decent design. That's it. Whew. Might be able to modify this into something in the future, actually, like a weird, like block, literally a lock thread type thing. Because now this has so much friction, I'm gonna be able to just track it right along. It's gonna worm its way right through the nut. cross thread. Let's cross thread. Oh. It is locked now. It's locked, so I can just tighten it as I please now. Serendipitous, kind of interesting solution. Anyway, yeah, okay, so it's pretty tight here now, and that worked. So yeah, I just had to refine it for a while. But okay, yeah. So I think that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. You can hardly see it, right? Cool. I could probably even implement the same locking thing in the back here, you know, just for convenience sake, so I don't have to rip hot glue off. Not that it's fun to actually initially do it, but hopefully I won't have to undo this for a while. Okay, so I think I was gonna put a tiny bit extra spring in it this time than I had in it. So you know, it has a lot of adjustment here. So it was about here. Let's just put here. Doo-dah. So now that's done. So like that's the only function really of that needs to be done. Screw this in quick, tighten it up. Yeah, half the videos are just gonna be pictures of me with my crotch. Tis the life of a cobbler, I guess. Okay, and then this is the jankiest aspect of this. So I'm just gonna take my hands and tighten the shit as much as I can. I was thinking, you know, I could probably put like a little slit, like a slot in it, and then like have some type of a tool rather than just brute strength. But, and then in which case, you know, I don't know. I'll figure out something. There are other locking mechanisms. I just have to do a little research. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Well, I messed up. So yeah, I put the lock on there before I actually loaded it. So you can see like, problemo, right? Can't. What are we gonna do now? So I gotta undo all the work I just did. So I don't like. This aspect of this design is like, it's somewhere between brilliance and stupidity. I don't know. I mean, it does seem to work, right? So you just do it like that, and then, you know, whatever. I'm sure there's a better way. I went through a bunch of different iterations, but I think the spring socket thing is the best aspect of it because it's low wear. You know, originally the way I had it was that it was all rigid. It was rigid on a shaft with a bolt, you know, just on this metal bolt and with a nut on the end of the bolt on this end. And like, basically what I've done is I've beefed up the axle or the shaft, whatever you want to call it. And then like I said, it's then adjustable too. So that's kind of the beauty of it. There's a number of just different adjustable things. Originally I had like these holes I just left in here because I could hook a spring from the toe to here. So then I get a little bit of toe, but it's hardly, it's not really necessary for basically anything. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess let me put it on quick because I'm sure that's going to be a lot more comfortable. And then I'm going to have to figure out a way to actually get this one to hook in a little bit better because this one's working its way out. That's not like I said, like a true hole. Look at it, it's getting a little rusty on me. I gotta research and see if I can get like some rubberized paint or something. But yeah. Alright, let's throw this one out. These are a little irritating. Oh yeah, and another useful little thing, just for anyone. You can see, so this is paracord. This is stretchy paracord, You can use them on hiking boots, or basically in replacement of any shoelace, and it's actually pretty much, there's no drawbacks. I mean, especially in hiking boots, my buddy Tim, who's the film guy here, the camera guy, he told me it's really useful for like if you're camping and you're in a hammock, because you can just easily slip a boot on, to go take a leak or whatever you got to do, and slip them without having to like lace them all the way up, and like if you don't have a quick lace system, So anyway, so basically what I'm doing, and I'm kind of making it up as I go. I saw certain aspects of this shoe that were useful. So like an aspect of this design is that it's really reliant on how tight it is to your foot. Like if you're because it'll tend to like pull your heel out of the shoe, right? So like you got to make sure it's really tight on your foot. And it just seems like with the paracord that it allows you to like spread the tension like more evenly and better. So here we go. It's also easier to tie it too. And like this is another thing I came up with a while ago. I don't know who. I'm sure lots of people do it. So just regular granny like this. Slip both of them through the hole. Okay. It's nice and tight. Nice. Oh man, it's so much more comfortable. Oh god. Now it's not like a torture boot. Good. It's a lot better, actually. So you can see, like now, look at it. It's still. I could have put more on there because it's still squishing like crazy. I got a fat foot, I guess. But yeah, you can see this one. Here, I'll try to stop moving so you can actually get a video of it too. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's like pretty much all you need. And I'm gonna probably, if not in this video, in another video, I'll get some slow-mo footage. And like you can watch like footage of runners. Like when you're like what you don't realize is like when you're running, like you're like kind of jumping up in the air so much that like you only really need like a 90-degree, actual inflection of your foot. Like you only have to pick it up 90 degrees before, So it's significant. And if you have like a rigid brace, if you have just a 90-degree rigid brace, then you're like, it's like walking in snowboarding boots or something, and that's not very graceful. So anyway, that's my boot thing. I don't know. I'd really like to help people out if they have drop foot, because it's it can happen for a lot of different reasons. Like stroke victims can have it, where it's not actually like nerve or muscle damage. It's just a brain thing and the connectivity. It's such a long run. A lot can go wrong. In the way down. So I don't know. I like I said, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to be talking to them a little bit more about it, and hopefully I just want to It's been able to enable me, so I'd like to help people out, for hopefully a little bit more affordably than maybe some other options. So anyway, thanks guys, and stay tuned. Bye.